we're deliberating in public, but for the public that's out there, this is a motion to dismiss, which means there's a different standard applicable on a motion than there is, say, for a trial. We are to assume that if everything that the complainant says is true, is their claim stated? And so that's kind of the standard that we have to look at this point. It's not the same standard we'd have if the thing goes to hearing. So, Jim or Tim, do you want to start, or I've done an analysis of the testimony. I don't know if you guys want me to go over that first.
I would welcome you, Judge Fleischman, to go ahead first.
Okay, all right. Well, here's the way I look on this. There are four. This is a little different than a motion to dismiss because we actually have statements from the four participants in the February meeting, and there are four participants. And the way I see it, there are three separate stories for what happened. Mr. Graham says that he meets with Sonia on February 7th, no problem. He asks her about the status of the projects. I don't remember if he actually says that he was worried about the eminent domain issue, but he made clear he didn't like the 68th Street issue as well as the parking garage. Again, no, I don't see any problem with that. She says she doesn't have the technical info, but says that Lena and Anna Lynn are together and they can get it to him, so they go to see him. I know there was some testimony from Mark, I can't remember his last name, about some secret meeting. I don't think there's any basis for that at all. This is the only meeting I think that we're dealing with. At the meeting, according to Mr. Graham, other than exchanging some niceties with the employees, he said nothing substantive. That Sonia asked for the material, that she never said why it was needed, and she was pretty adamant that nobody had made any requests for a budget change. Now we go to Ms. Andrews, who says something different. She says, yeah, we had the meeting. We go down to everything's fine until we go down to the office. And she says that it was Mr. Graham who spoke substantively to the two employees. Again, he didn't he didn't say why he wanted the material or that he wanted them to do anything. But he spoke. So and then we have the two employees, and their story is much different. This is Anna Lynn. She says Graham, not Sonia, was the speaker, as does Lena, and she says that Mr. Graham said that he wanted the project, quote, pause to shift to get it out. I don't recall the exact words, but he didn't want project to continue. So he says, pause the project, but pause the budget and move to future years, which then leads me to and so we have Mr. Graham saying he said nothing substantive. We have Ms. Andrews, who is clearly, I think, supportive of him, saying what he said was fine, that they just responded. And then we have the two employees saying something much different. So I guess my first question is probably to Mr. Lasota, I suppose, is they're saying that the reason why the city manager asked, I can't remember if it was Anna Lynn or Lena, to file an amendment to the CIP was as a result of the statements that Mr. Graham made to them. So my question is, if those statements in fact were not made, why was there any activity regarding an amendment at all?
Well, Your Honor, I think we're getting a little bit sort of off topic on this. I mean, I think when this comes down to the Scottsdale City Charter, we have something that says you shall not give orders to subordinates of charter officers. That is the word that is used in the charter, and we've got a report from Mr. Cassidy that talks about we need to decide whether, like the key question is whether his request, Councilman Graham's request to city staff members, was a violation of the code. This is directly from the report. The complaint contends that Councilman Graham violated the City of Scottsdale Code of Ethical Behavior on February 7th by requesting Budget and Research Administrator Johnson and Lina Zhao to pause work and delay funding. I mean, right there, that is an accurate statement of the complaint. And right there, we don't have an ethics violation. So that should be the end of this. I mean, that was, we've got a complaint that alleges at most that Mr. Graham directed an office to do something. Whatever an office is not an underling, a person who reports to a charter officer. So I think this focus on that this person had a little different story, and I think it sort of misses the point that, look, we don't have an ethics violation. Even this key question is not really a question, because Mr. Graham is free to request whatever he wants. And he's free to tell a charter officer whatever he wants, even if it is an order. But I mean, we don't have it. And getting into sort of the feeds, I think that it's not really where we should go. But
are you saying then, Tim, that we should just ignore the statements, just go by what's on the complaint itself?
Well, I think that's what we should have done at the last hearing, Your Honor. But we obviously have a report where at most we've got that he's making requests to underlings. So, and maybe somebody changed something, or somebody sends an email that says we need to change this. I mean, maybe staff just, maybe they just sort of took it a little bit. Well, I mean, you've got an email chain, you got people telling people this. I mean, why it was communicated that we should pause work, I don't know. All I know is when we look at this, there's nothing there. I think the question is, what did Mr. Graham order? And I think the answer to that is he didn't order anyone to do anything. That's not what council members do. And he didn't, he certainly didn't order subordinates of Miss Andrews to do anything. You hear request, you hear words like that, and then when you have a word that's definitive like directed, he directed our office. And it's clear whatever he said to Sonia Andrews and whoever else was in the room, because Miss Andrews, in response to an inquiry from Councilman Graham, took Councilman Graham into a room with other people. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I didn't talk to the city manager about exactly what happened with the budget item, but I think that's what I do know.
I like Judge Fleischman. I mean, I read the statements and I watched the interviews, and it struck me that both of these people, Anna Leah Johnson and Lina Zhao, believed that they were being ordered to do something. And in fact, they did it. The emails are sent to confirm what they felt they were ordered to do. And, it stopped. I mean, it didn't actually come to fruition, but they clearly believed that they were being ordered to do something. And given that testimony, in my view, we have a conflict in the testimony, and I don't think that we're in a position to dismiss this at this point in time, given that conflict. That's my take.
Jim?
My comment is that what if Mr. Graham didn't order it, but the two employees took it as a direction? Is he to be blamed for not being more clear in what he was doing? He goes to the city treasurer to find out information, and she takes him into the people who can get the information. And I'm not sure how far we can take his actions there with the employees when he was really looking for information and expressing what he hoped would happen ultimately. He couldn't order the treasurer to do anything. He could express his single party vote and his ideas, but he doesn't have the authority to direct anybody.
Right. But like Lena says, this is a quote. He's told me to take it out, move it. She felt that personally, yes, Graham was directing her, but then in her testimony, I couldn't understand it. She first answers the question saying, yes, I thought Graham was directing me, but then she sort of backs off on that a little, but I couldn't really understand what she was saying. I guess the issue is what Tim is raising, given the conflict that we've got so far, and no one's been put under oath, obviously. Do we have the basis to dismiss? I mean, what you're saying, I agree, Jim, and I'm sure Mr. Graham would know this anyway. Even if we believe everything that the two employees said, that didn't change the status of the 68th Street project. Ultimately, the board or the council is going to have to vote on that. But the issue is, that may be a no harm, no foul defense, and I'm not sure that applies in an ethics inquiry or not. But it is true that he couldn't just he couldn't just simply say take it out of the budget and it's gone forever. That clearly couldn't happen. But does that go to the weight versus whether or not the statute was violated?
That's a good point. Since the two employees have never dealt with a councilman before, as I recollect them saying, they may have misunderstood his authority and overjudged his interest as being something that would happen. I can see them saying we need to move it and asking their supervisors, is this true? Is this going to go forward based on his request?
And all three of the other witnesses said that he, in fact, directed that.
Yeah. I have the same concern. He seemed to take the position. I didn't really do anything. I didn't say anything, and there seems to be an abundance of evidence to the contrary.
Anybody want to say anything else before we vote on this? Okay, then on the motion to dismiss.
If I,
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yes.
May I make comments, or would that be out of order?
If you want to, Mr. Graham, but it's up to you and your lawyer. It's fine with me. I mean,
Go ahead.
Okay, Tim, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today, and I know we're taking time out of our schedule, and I appreciate your due diligence in this process. What we submitted as far as our request or our response was that the city treasurer brought me into their offices to check on the status of the project, and Sonia Andrews asked them to try to pause them so this new council would have a chance to review them. I agree with some of the comments about, staff members weren't used to that. I did not ask to go to their offices. All I did was express a preference for various projects, yes and no. I like this, I don't like that. If the inherent content of my comments was pleasantries and at most an acknowledgement like, that Analia would, the 68th Street project, and Sonia would say yes, and maybe I nodded to that, but I didn't say anything about it. I didn't ask to be led into their offices. I didn't talk to them about the projects. I was literally along for the ride. I was standing there. I was smiling. It was a Friday afternoon. I said, have a good afternoon. Maybe some other pleasantries and jokes and small talk. But I didn't direct any of them. I directed none of them. I was literally along for the ride. In fact, I was surprised by kind of what was going on because I was being led around, and what was a normal budget meeting with a charter officer, I didn't request to speak with any staff. I didn't ever expect that. I know that changing projects and budgets requires 4 votes in an open meeting. I'm fully aware of the ethics code, never to direct staff. I can ask questions though. I can make inquiries of staff. The charter allows that. I didn't, but respectfully, Your Honors, I didn't direct anybody, and it just has the feeling that it's almost the stars are crossing because I didn't request to go in there. I did not direct anybody. I had a normal budget meeting as the charter requires me, as residents expect me to sit with a charter officer. And so respectfully, I just want to reiterate those points and appreciate you giving me the chance to re-explain what happened. And I hope this is consistent with what you read in my testimony, written remarks, and perceptions from staff about what I meant or my presence being in their office. I mean, I'm very familiar with the ethics code, and this was not an ethics violation, as my attorney stated. So I respectfully submit those remarks for your comments. I'm happy to take questions from you.
Chair Fleischman, if I can have an opportunity. Sure. I also wanted to thank all of you for supporting the good governance that is in place in the city of Scottsdale. And I'm actually proud to I'm a resident in Scottsdale. I actually do feel that the direction that Mr. Graham gave and is supported by the testimony of the staff is a violation of the Code of Ethical Behavior. And maybe ending the investigation might provide some clarity by conducting an interview with the city manager, along with building a timeline of some of these capital amendment changes. In the same public records request where these emails were documented, I can see that on February 21, at a meeting of the Capital Management Review Committee, there is a footnote to an agenda item that says, regarding the 68th Street sidewalk and storm drain, the project was requested to be moved out to the future by the vice mayor. So Mr. Graham was vice mayor at that time. And I guess the footnote does not say the direction to move the project out comes from the city manager, who is the charter officer. So that's just one example. 2 weeks later, after the meeting with the staff, there are ripple effects of that direction that are evident in documents. But regardless, without doing any further investigation, the fact that the staff sought guidance from charter offices or eventually put the project back is really not relevant. What is it at what I believe is that Councilman Graham did in fact direct in the adoption of the city charter. Mm-hmm. So thank you for the time to say that.
Judge Fleischman, if I may just kindly respond briefly.
Sure.
I believe Ms. Norton made the comment that the written remarks, which said to use the verb request. Request. Mm-hmm. That is not, I request things all the time. I request things of charter officers all the time. I'm supposed to. Voters voted me to do that. I requested this week before the meeting for information about the Axon vote to hire legal counsel. I make requests all the time. We are about to pass a $2.2 billion budget. I've made several requests about several topics, and I'm supposed to do that. This is, as my attorney said, I'm familiar with the ethics rules. I did not direct anybody below the charter level to do anything. I was pulled into their office. I was smiling. Hey, how you doing? Oh yeah, and that was the extent of it. But the charter officer, Sonny Andrews, asked them to pause it or see if they could pause it, so they pulled it up. I didn't make that request. Even that was a request. I didn't direct the I didn't direct anybody below the charter officer level to do anything. And so my humble response to Ms. Norton, which I appreciate her participation in this. I appreciate yours, and thank you for your consideration.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd like some closing comments on my motion. I mean, this is just it's a political hit. I think what we've done now is we're sending the message that you have to be extraordinarily careful if you're a councilman or a council member and you want to have a conversation with the people who work for the city of Scottsdale. I mean, you've got this thing started with an email that said the office, he directed our office to do something, and that was the most definitive thing to sort of do what a council member wanted, but we have no real evidence. It's time for this thing to end right now. We've already sent the message that if you're a council member, you have to be extraordinary. I mean, I don't know what I would tell someone after this. Record every conversation. Don't have the conversation. It's just he's allowed to direct a charter officer, and he's allowed to request of anyone anything he wants. So we even have a report by Mr. Cassidy that says he didn't violate the charter. And we have the question that's framed improperly. Did he actually make a request? He's allowed to make any request he wants. We still have moved off of the city charter and what it actually prohibits. And now basically we're completely eviscerating our elected representatives. So it's time for this thing to end. I would ask that you grant our motion to dismiss.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else say anything? No? All right. Tim, you want to?
I'll go ahead. I think that we should deny the motion to dismiss in light of what I said before. There's a clear conflict in the testimony. The two witnesses believed they were being ordered to do something. I don't see how we can just ignore that conflict and dismiss it at this stage. So my vote is to deny the motion to dismiss.
Jim?
Thank you. My vote is to grant the motion to dismiss. I think we have two employees who misunderstood what was going on, and their misperception, over eagerness to comply, even though they knew they couldn't change it themselves, shouldn't be the basis for an ethical violation.
I have puzzled over this a lot, but we're here on a motion to dismiss, and I agree with Judge Thomason. I would, when we first heard this, I was under the impression that this was simply a semantical issue, and that, frankly, I thought Mr. Graham did nothing wrong. I thought he did the right thing by trying to get to the bottom of it as quickly as possible without all the bureaucratic nonsense. But now we have this testimony from these two witnesses, which is diametrically opposed to what Mr. Graham just said even now, which is different than what his statement was. But be that as it may, I'm bothered by two things. Number one, the fact that all three of these witnesses said that he was an active participant. Maybe didn't do anything ethically wrong, but did actively participate in the meeting. It wasn't just, hey, how are you? That bothers me. And then also the contradicted testimony of these two witnesses who say they were clearly directed. In fact, Frank in his at the end of his report says staff members are not accustomed to receiving directions directly from council members, and he acknowledges that it was imprudent, et cetera, et cetera. But unfortunately, I think we're going to have to hear the evidence to get to the bottom of exactly what happened. I mean, I don't know what else we can do on a motion to dismiss given the standard. So I'm going to vote to deny the motion. So the motion is denied 2-1. And I guess we have a hearing date set, I think, in June. What's the date, Frank?
Yes, Your Honor. We have a meeting set for June the 5th, and it is scheduled to begin at 8 a.m. so that we can accommodate other schedules. So I guess the question would be, do you want me to arrange to have people available at that point to actually testify directly to the panel, or do you want to just leave that to the parties to do that? How would you like?
Well, this is my question. Ms. Norton doesn't have a lawyer. Is she going to be able to subpoena the city manager or whoever I mean, I don't want to get started with all of this. I can see Mr. Lasota just, going nuts. But I don't know how else to handle this because we have to hear sworn testimony about what happened here. I don't know what else we can do. I was leaning to dismissing it last week as well, Tim. I thought, but that's not what these interviews turned out to be. So my point is, I don't want to direct who you want to have testify. I know it's got to be these 4 people for sure. So I'll leave it up to you guys how you want to handle it. I mean, Frank, do you want to? I don't want you doing Miss Norton's work. That's my concern.
Well, Judge Fleischman, I can go ahead and arrange for certainly the 3 employees, Sonia Andrews, Analia Johnson, and Lena Zhou, to be available to testify on June the 5th. I can request also, of course, the manager to be, if he's available. I don't know what his schedule is. Frankly, I don't know what any of these people's schedule is for June the 5th. I didn't actually coordinate with them.
Yeah.
I can make those requests and have them all available, and then obviously Councilman Graham will be here as well, presumably.
All right. What about the inquiry about how? I mean, I don't know if we need the city manager or if he even knows how that amendment got prepared. I mean, Ms. Norton, this is your complaint, and I don't want the city having to pay Frank to go do, your job. So, Tim Thomason, do you have any suggestions on how to handle that?
Well, I think. Am I muted, or can you hear me?
No, we can hear you.
I think the 3 witnesses that Mr. Cassidy just talked about should be, if they can be available at that hearing. I'm not sure we need the city manager. I don't think it's not disputed that, like I said before, that this process got stopped, and the city council clearly would have had to vote on it to kick it out to another year. So I don't know that that's in dispute. It doesn't strike me that the city manager's testimony would be all that important. That's just my thought.
Do we have enough, you think, to based on the testimony or the statements that on how that amendment got prepared, who ordered it prepared, when it got, and we have nothing on that, I don't think.
Yeah.
I mean, if I may interject, I thought that was the whole reason we're continuing this, is the city manager changed it. So I think that, on that line of thinking, I don't know how we could have a hearing without him.
I don't know I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, was he the one that actually did this? I mean, we never got into how that whole process, because that's the question. Obviously, somebody had to direct these 2 employees to do something. I don't think anyone's thinking that they went out on their own and prepared an amendment to the budget. That wouldn't happen. So it was either Mr. Graham, Ms. Andrews, or somebody else. And I don't know, Frank, you want to make inquiries and see what they say. I mean, you did it on those witnesses. I guess you might as well get to the bottom of how that process happened, and then we can hear their testimony if need be. If that's all right with everyone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can do that.
I don't understand how that's is that going to be another report from Mr. Cassidy and then this? I mean, why don't we just have the hearing?
That's fine with it. Well, it's fine with me, but don't we want to know what who to call and what they're going to say? I mean, I don't want to bother the city manager if he says, I had nothing to do with this. I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no reason to bring him in to this. I just don't know who I'd like to know what that process was, and whoever can provide that, that's fine.
I think it should be incumbent on Ms. Norton to produce who she thinks is necessary to sustain her sworn complaint.
Fair enough. I think you're probably right.
Well, I have a couple of public records requests that I can provide the extract documents from that showing how quickly those changes were implemented. I'm not sure I have the date and documentation for when the project was restored.
Well, the dates are good, but I don't know. I guess what we're looking for is how did it come about that there was an amendment prepared at all? And I guess that will be your burden because to me that's the key. We got conflicting testimony here about what these folks are saying about what happened at the February 7th hearing meeting, but something caused Lena, I assume it was Ms. Chow, I think, to prepare an amendment to the CIT. Now that was not. I don't think that anyone would think that she just did that on her own, or she and Anna Lynn did that. Somebody asked her to do that, whether it was a direction, an order, whatever. And that's the missing information. And I do agree with Mr. Lasota. That's going to be your burden. I don't think it's fair. I mean, I think it was fine for Frank to do the initial investigation that we did, but now we're in a hearing, and I think we have to apply those rules. You have the burden, so you will need to. If you think it's germane, then you'll have to provide that testimony for us. I assume, Frank, do we have subpoena powers? Do I need to sign subpoenas, or how does all that work if need be?
Your Honor, I'm not really sure. I haven't. I didn't see something in the rules that talks about that, but I don't think there will be any difficulty getting folks if they, as long as they're not on vacation or something, to come and testify as necessary.
Well, I definitely would like to call Lena Joe and Leah Johnson.
By the two employees, by Lena. And whether she did so mistakenly or whether she did so in anticipation of thinking that if this goes through, it'll be because other people approve it further down the line. So I'm not sure the germaneness of the city manager's testimony would be.
Well, I'm missing a key piece of information about when the project was restored. So February 11th, there are documents in that same public records request that show that the project has been zeroed. So that happened just a few days after this conversation. But when did it get restored? That would be something to ask the city manager.
Well, I'll leave it to you, then, Ms. Norton, to put on whatever case or whatever witnesses we're going to have the four, obviously, here that we've already heard from. So you don't have to worry about them. But if there's any other witnesses that you think we need to hear from, it's going to be on you to obtain that. If you need some help, let Frank know, and I'm sure he can assist you in that regard. Because you will have the burden of proof. So just so you know. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start at 8. Anything else? All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all. We're done for the day. We'll see you in June. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.